आज
नमस्कार
द लीगल प्लेटफॉर्म में बात करेंगे हम केशवानंद भारती। पिछले दिनों उनका निधन हो गया और केशवानंद भारती अपने अनुयायियों में जितने लोकप्रिय थे, जितने मानने वाले उनको थे, उतनी ही ज्यादा भूमिका उनकी भारतीय संवैधानिक इतिहास और भारतीय न्यायिक इतिहास जो है उसमें रही। 1970 में उन्होंने एक मुकदमा किया अपने मठ के जमीन को लेके और उसके बाद उस केस का फैसला आया 1973 में, जिसे केशवानंद भारती बनाम केवल स्टेट के नाम से जाना जाता है। और इस केस के फैसले ने एक भारतीय न्यायिक इतिहास में एक मील का पत्थर साबित हुआ ये, और इसने एक ऐसी थ्योरी दी संविधान में संशोधन के मामले में कि संविधान का बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर जो है, मूलभूत ढांचा जो है, उसमें संशोधन नहीं किया जा सकता। तब से लेके आज तक हर संविधान संशोधन कहीं ना कहीं इस कसौटी पे परखा गया है। इस मुद्दे पे केशवानंद भारती का महत्व क्या है, इस पूरे केस का महत्व क्या है, और इस केस के फैसले के बाद जो रिपरकशंस भी कुछ हुए थे उनकी क्या स्थिति रही, उस पर बातचीत करने के लिए आज हमारे साथ मौजूद है गुवाहाटी हाई कोर्ट के पूर्व एक्टिंग चीफ जस्टिस श्री के श्रीधर राव जी और दिल्ली जुडिशियल एकेडमी के पूर्व चेयरमैन प्रोफेसर बीटी कौल। आप दोनों लोगों का द लीगल प्लेटफॉर्म में बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। जस्टिस राव, मैं पहले आपसे पूछूंगा कि इस को मील का पत्थर माना जाता है, इस केस को, केशवानंद भारती केस को। अगर मैं आपसे ये पूछूं कि 2 या 3 पॉइंट्स ऐसे क्या थे जिसकी वजह से ये केस माइलस्टोन इंडियन जुडिशियल हिस्ट्री में?
Sir, before directly answering your question, we should get back to the background. The first amendment to the Constitution in 1951, brought by Jawaharlal Nehru, became a point of controversy. The matter was taken because Jamandara abolition system was brought in by constitutional amendment, and it was challenged before the Supreme Court. The Article 13 of the Indian Constitution says that any law which derogates or abridges fundamental rights is invalid. But under 368, Constitution power of the procedure of amendment was provided. The question was whether the constitutional amendment also includes the law, or it's only ordinary law, civil laws. That was the question that was came up for consideration before the Supreme Court. The bench, then consisting of Justice Patanjali Sastry and others, they held that constitutional law is not within the meaning of law under Article 13. Therefore, they upheld the validity of that amendment. Then in the Golaknath case, the question again arose. There in the Golaknath case, the Supreme Court said that under 368, the head note of the provision of article only said that procedure to amend. The court held that there was no power to amend to abridge the fundamental rights. They are permanent features of the Constitution which can't be altered or violated. That's how Golaknath case judgment was rendered. Then the question in 1971, Indira Gandhi brought about amendment to Article 13. To Article 13, that the constitutional amendment does not constitute a law within the meaning of the Article 13. And then she also brought about amendment under Article 31, that any legislations, 31 and 31C, any legislations which gives effect to Article 39C and B, that is for the public purpose, for the general public purpose, if any amendments are made, then they should not be questioned in the court of law. That's how the amendment was brought. Then Keshwanand Bharati case, there the Kerala Land Reforms Act was amended from time to time, and in 69 also it was amended. Then he challenged. In 71 also the Kerala Land Reforms Act was amended. Then he appealed to the court saying that that amendment is also held to be invalid because it abridges the fundamental right, and he challenged the validity of 24th Amendment, that is amendment to Article 30, and 25th Amendment, that is with regard to Article 31 and other things, and 29th Amendment, by which the amendment of Kerala Land Reforms Act was placed under 9th schedule, which is immune from challenge before the courts on the ground of fundamental rights or anything like that. Then the issue arose, about 13 judges bench was constituted, and the court held that amendment to that constitution, amendment to Article 13, by incorporating that the constitutional amendment does not mean within the ambit of law as stated in Article 13, they upheld that. So as per the judgment, any constitutional amendment is not a law within the meaning of Article 13. That was one proposition that was held by this, laid down by the Supreme Court. With regard to second thing, where they said that as far as to give effect to Article 39 C and B, if any properties are acquired or anything like that, then they are immune from challenge. It was so held, and also that the compensation concept was there. The compensation was to be a market value, something like that. The court, see, after all, in most of the cases, it will not be possible to compensate because the financial resources of the state is not so robust. Therefore, they said that instead of compensation, they said that it's only an amount. Something, a reasonable amount was said so. And another amendment of Article 31C was, any such amendment made should not be challenged before the court and not justiciable. The Supreme Court held that the first part held to be valid, and the second part, as far as denying access to the court to challenge the acquisitions or all, that was held to be invalid. They said that it is justiciable in the court. That is how. And the 29th Amendment also held to be valid. These are the basic aspects of ratio laid down by the Supreme Court in Keshwanand Bharti case. It may be true that it is a very trend-setting judgment, because first earlier it was held that the Constitution, Article 13, which prohibits abridging constitutional rights, does not include the amendment to the Constitution. That law was almost restored in this Keshwanand Bharti case, and Golaknath case ratio was overruled. Golaknath case was overruled. Golaknath case was overruled. As far as Keshwanand Bharti case is concerned, although he contributed to the historical development of the constitution law, but personally he failed in his challenge. And Kerala Land Reforms Act was held to be valid. This is the background and the summary of these things. But one thing, as far as basics, they said that in Keshwanand Bharti case, they said that Parliament has got power to amend any part of the Constitution, any article of the Constitution, but save the basic structures. Basic structure was not defined in a precise terms, but by illustrations they said the democracy, free and fair election, secularism, and then the independence of the judiciary. Likewise, they gave a lot of instances where the basic structure of the Constitution could be identified. But one thing in my view, there appears to be some incongruity in the attitude of the Parliament, because the compensation concept as amended in Article 31C does not correspond or is not in pari passu with the Land Acquisition Act. As far as agricultural lands and other things are concerned, it was mainly intended to see that for agricultural reforms have to be brought in. But as far as Land Acquisition Act is concerned, you see that there the market value is there. There appears to be some conflict with the Land Reforms Act and this Land Acquisition Act and the provisions of the Constitution. In my view, the market value in the Land Acquisition Act also has to be taken away, because if you want to give effect to Article 39B and C, many a time even on the Land Reforms Act, you may have to acquire the property, and the acquisition of the property for the public interest. In the public interest, it has to serve the public interest, larger sections of the public. Therefore, under circumstances, to fall in like the provisions of the Constitution, I feel the Land Acquisition Act also requires to be amended to keep in tune with the spirit of the Constitution.
प्रोफेसर कौल, जो जस्टिस राव ने कहा अभी, उसमें एक जो कंपेंसेशन वाली बात कही, मैं उस पर बाद में आऊंगा। पहले मैं बात करूंगा बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर का, जो इस फैसले ने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर की बात कही और बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर को डिफाइन नहीं किया, जैसा कि जस्टिस राव ने भी बताया। तो क्या ये बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर केस टू केस बेसिस पे डिसाइड होना था, या अगर उस समय डिसाइड हो गया होता तो आज जो उसको लेके कभी कभी जो प्रॉब्लम आती है, जो ग्रेव एरिया डेवलप हो जाते हैं, क्या वो नहीं होते?
देखिए, ये बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर का जो कॉन्सेप्ट आया, ये 1973 में आया. It was in Keshwananda Bharati's
जी
case, where the court, 13 judges of the Supreme Court, sat for 86
जी
days, or like that, I think 68 days, and they had
जी
to constitute the constitution bench of 13 judges because Golaknath's case was decided by 11 judges. So therefore, it had to be a larger bench because it had to reconsider the whole law on the subject. Before that, there was Shankari Prasad and Sajan Singh's
जी
case, where the Supreme Court had held earlier
जी जी
that Parliament, when it amends the Constitution, it is not law within the meaning of Article 13 of the Constitution, so that the constitutional powers of
जी
the Parliament are different from the law as defined in Article 13 of the Constitution. But
जी
that theory was rejected by the Supreme Court in Golaknath's case. Golaknath's case did not make any distinction because reliance was on Article 368. And it said that 368 provides only procedure to amend the Constitution. So there is no constitutional power as such which flows from Article 368. That is why immediately after Golaknath's case, we had amendments to the Constitution, and you'll find 24th Amendment in 1971.
जी
Now, there was an amendment to Article 13 itself in the form of Clause 4. We said that
जी
no, the amendment made in pursuance of Article 368 shall not be an law for the purposes of Article 13. And similarly, there was an amendment to Article 368 itself. So therefore, the difficulties that
जी
Parliament faced in Golaknath's case were remedied by what they thought through the Constitutional Amendment Act of that is 24th Amendment to the Constitution. But before that, I think what Justice Rao said was a very important issue. Was when we gave ourselves this Constitution, we had two important chapters. One was fundamental rights, second was directive principles of state policy. And Justice Rao referred to that concentration of economic power should not result to the common detriment. And this was something which Pandit Nehru was very eager to come out in the form of the Land Reforms Acts. And that is why the very first amendment that came to the Constitution was in 1951 itself. And two things that became very important because of that amendment was it gave Article 31B and also created Schedule 9. Now, it created fictional immunity to those legislations which were put in the Schedule 9 to the Constitution, because that is what happened was that those were all to start with 13 legislations which were put in the schedule, which today we are told stand somewhere around 180 something, and in that it is not only the land reforms but other legislations which have been put into that. That is why that became a matter for controversy. Subsequently, we'll come to that later on. But again, the important question I think that Justice Rao referred to was when the question of land reforms came in, and compensation issue came before the court, the word used was compensation. And therefore, the court started interpreting it as a market value. They said you can't take castles for peanuts. This is the language used by the Supreme Court in this judgment, in one of its judgments. That is why you'll find when we talk about 25th Amendment to the Constitution. Now, 25th Amendment to the Constitution is very important because that also came sometime immediately in 1975. Because that came, I think, after the Keshwananda Bharati's case. Was the court substituted the word compensation by the word amount and also brought in 31C, capital C in the Constitution. We said if the Parliament wants to give effect to directive principles of state policy, it should not be subject matter of challenge before the courts. And to that extent, when this amendment came before the Supreme Court, and subsequently that amendment was, to that extent not upheld. 25th Amendment was upheld, but then judicial review, which was excluded, was not upheld. Now, what is important about Keshwananda Bharati's case is this. It's a question of who should have the custody of protecting the Constitution. Now, should it be with the elected representatives? Should there be supremacy of the Parliament, or there should be supremacy of the Constitution? And who should have the last word to say as to whether the Parliament can amend the fundamental rights or other important rights of the people? But this is where Keshwananda Bharati's case becomes very important. It is in this case where they overturned Golaknath's case. They said Parliament has the power to amend the fundamental rights, but it does not have the power to change the basic structure of the Constitution. So therefore, the doctrine of basic structure of the Constitution came in Golaknath's, this Keshwananda Bharati's case. And therefore, the question arose, what is the basic structure of the Constitution? And therefore, it did not decide in that case, but left it to be decided in future cases. Because needs of the society, dynamics of the Constitution and dynamics of the law, it has to evolve. These are judicial standards. I think what are basic structure of the Constitution are the basic standards, values, which are important. Like Justice Rao said, over the period of time, the courts have said some basic structure of the Constitution, like democracy, fair and free elections, rule of law, independence of judiciary, judicial review. Now, this is from case to case that court has to deal with each situation, and it started telling us what are these basic, fundamentals of the Constitution, basic structure of the Constitution that the Parliament cannot amend. Meaning thereby, what is supreme is the Constitution, not the Parliament. Therefore, the brute majority of the Parliament cannot deface or defile the Constitution. So the Constitution as a document, who will decide what is the basic structure, whether the basic structure is violated or it is not violated? It is the judiciary. Of course, there is, separation of powers. And in separation of powers, this power has been given to the oversee the functioning of the Parliament and the legislature. This power rests with the judiciary. Therefore, it is the judiciary which will decide in each case as to what are the basic structures of the Constitution and whether the law or the constitutional amendment that has been brought in is violative of the basic structure of the Constitution.
जी 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 अच्छा, यहाँ पे एक सवाल और आता है कि जो बात हुई कि इंडिपेंडेंस ऑफ जुडिशरी जो है वो वन ऑफ द बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन माना गया, बातचीत मतलब जो आगे के केसेस आएंगे, लेकिन इस केस के फैसले के तुरंत बाद जो हुआ उसको आप किस तरीके से देखेंगे? पहली चीज, जो डिसेंट ओपिनियन देने वाले 3 जो जजेस थे जो इस फैसले के अगेंस्ट थे, उनमें से 3 जजेस बाद में सुप्रीम कोर्ट के चीफ जस्टिस बनते हैं, और एक जो बनते हैं जो इमीडिएटली बाद बने, वो 3 सीनियर मोस्ट जजेस को सुपरसीड करके बने। फिर उसमें एक कंट्रोवर्सी जो आर्टिकल 25 के रिव्यू की आई थी कि बिना रिव्यू पिटीशन के एक बेंच बना दी गई थी जो क्या कहते हैं रिव्यू करने लगी थी।
In
तो
fact, there was no
इंडिपेंडेंस ऑफ
review.
जुडिशरी का, हाँ, देयर नो रिव्यू पिटीशन।
There was no review
जस्टिस
petition.
साहब, मैं आपसे जानना चाहूंगा कि जिस चीज को लेके केशवानंद भारती ने इतनी बड़ी बात कही कि इंडिपेंडेंस, वो इमीडिएटली इस केस के बाद एक तरीके से खत्म कर दी गई, इसको आप कैसे देखेंगे?
So the irony is, in Keshwanand Bharati case, Justice Hegde, Grover, and Justice Shailat, all of them were in the majority to uphold the constitutional amendments. Irony is, A.N. Ray was a dissenting judge, but later on, A.N. Ray was elevated and Chief Justice, and because of the judgment in Privy Purse's case, because in Privy Purse's case, this happened. They incurred perhaps the displeasure of Madam Gandhi, Mrs. Gandhi. Therefore, they were passed, and Justice A.N. Ray was made the Chief Justice. Another interesting thing, I read an article of Justice Krishna here on this point with regard to the review. Some discussion went on behind the curtain in the chambers, perhaps in the chamber or something like that. And it was, they wanted to have a review of the judgment. Somehow it's a mystery that why review did not happen. The Justice A.N. Ray did not agree, and it did not, review was not taken up at all.
So he had to dissolve he dissolved the bench because
He
there was a lot of
dissolved,
opposition
dissolved
to
the bench
he
after.
dissolved the bench because after there was a lot of arguments and there was opposition to this within the court itself, and this bench was dissolved subsequently. But by that time, he had become the Chief Justice. He had become the Chief. You see, there was a Roosevelt plan in United States. When Supreme Court of United States was every time striking down the constitutional validity of the legislations. So Roosevelt threatened the packing of the court. I think this is what happened around that time when I think they wanted to experiment. You're talking about the independence of judiciary. When there was people who were senior most were superseded, and Justice Khanna lost his Chief Justiceship because of the ADM Jabalpur judgment, where he gave the minority opinion upholding the fundamental rights of the people and said during the emergency also they can enforce their fundamental rights. So that was basically one of those threatening situations that was done in US. They did not pack the courts, but then they started packing the courts in India. That is what happened in United States. So therefore, subsequently, many measures were taken to ensure that independence of judiciary was not easily trampled with. I think that's subsequent history that we look at it.
जी जी अच्छा, प्रोफेसर कौल, एक चीज और है, जो ये केशवानंद भारती जजमेंट था, 7-6 का जजमेंट था, 13 जजेस की बेंच थी, 7 और 6 का। तो इसका मतलब ये, क्या ये माना जाए कि जो डिसेंटिंग जजेस थे या जिनका जो माइनॉरिटी वाले डिसीजन वाले जजेस थे, उसमें भी कहीं ना कहीं उनके आर्गुमेंट या उनके जो डिसीजन था उसमें भी दम था? क्योंकि सिर्फ एक जगह इधर से उधर हो जाता
नहीं,
तो फैसला उल्टा हो जाता।
It was basically Justice Khanna's judgment which made all the difference. But you will see Justice Khanna also, when he talks about the basic structure of the Constitution, relating to, I think, what was subject matter before the court was 29th Amendment. And in that amendment, in that judgment also, the 6 judges said that upholding the validity of 29th amendment qualified. 6 said unqualified, and Justice Khanna was with the unqualified people. See,
Unqualified,
Justice
yes.
Khanna was with the people who said that this is unqualified, upholding the constitutional validity of that legislation.
जी,
But
जी,
it is in
जी,
subsequent matters, Coelho's judgment, when we come to another judgment of 2007, that is, we find that when the 9-judge bench was constituted to go into the question, from the 5-judge bench to the 9-judge bench, the question was whether legislations put in Schedule 9
जी,
by virtue of the exercise of powers under 31B, are they also
जी,
immune from judicial review, or they are not immune from judicial review?
judicial
And it
review.
is in that judgment the Supreme Court said 9 judges unanimously, this is the development of the law, unanimously said if any legislation which is put, or constitutional amendment, sorry, any constitutional amendment that is made and put in Schedule 9, and if it is violative of the basic structure of the Constitution, then it can be struck down. Now that is the important development that you must see from Keshwananda Bharati's case, where the court said 29, majority said unqualified. But now the court said it is qualified. So therefore the question is evolution of the law. I think we are now at a better footing, because you can't put everything under the Schedule 9 and then say you cannot have, you will have immunity and it will be beyond the judicial review. The court said nothing doing, this will be subject to judicial review.
जी जी जी। अच्छा, एक सवाल और है, ये जो शंकरी प्रसाद सिंह वाला केस है, जस्टिस साहब, ये मेरा सवाल आपसे है। शंकरी प्रसाद सिंह का केस था, सज्जन कुमार हो गए, गोलकनाथ हो गए, और ये केशवानंद भारती, सॉरी सज्जन सिंह था, सॉरी वो एक्टर सज्जन कुमार के नाम से याद आ रहा है, कांग्रेस लीडर सज्जन कुमार याद है। तो फिर उसका गोलकनाथ केस आ गया। ये सारे केसेस जो हिंदुस्तान में उस समय एग्रेरियन रिफॉर्म्स जो चल रहे थे, वो रिफॉर्म्स थे, चाहे वो जमींदारी अबॉलिशन एक्ट हो या और दूसरे जो लैंड रिफॉर्म्स हो रहे थे, उनको लेके थे। ये सारे मुकदमे जो लैंडमार्क जजमेंट बने उस समय, ये सारे जजमेंट उन रिफॉर्म्स के खिलाफ थे, मतलब सॉरी नॉट जजमेंट, ये मुकदमे उन रिफॉर्म्स के खिलाफ थे। तो आपको ये नहीं लगता कि एक रिफॉर्म हो रहा था, उनका अपोजिशन हुआ, उससे एक बड़ा रिफॉर्म निकल के आया? तो अगर किसी रिफॉर्म का अपोजिशन होता है तो कहीं ना कहीं वो हो सकता है भविष्य में जाके वो ज्यादा बेहतर बड़ी चीज निकाल सकता है। जस्टिस साहब, मेरा आपसे ये सवाल।
No, I don't think that Supreme Court was always in favor of reformations. The first case, Shankari Prasad case, that upheld. And then it's only Golaknath case that tried to curtail the powers of the parliament with regard to the amendment. Yes. Later on, all the judgments of the Supreme Court is in tune with the reformations, whatever brought about by the parliament. They have upheld it. But one interesting feature is that the basic structure of the constitution, the ratio laid down, is out of the provisions of the constitution. It's a judge-made limitations. Because I read an article immediately after Antule, Antule written an article in the VAR. He had written an argument that these limitations are not found in the constitution but judgment. But anyway, it's for the good of the country. They have been accepted. There is no doubt about that. As far as independence of judiciary is concerned, it is a very confused concept, because in NJAC case, they hold that the independence of judiciary will be affected, and all that. I don't think it was a correct view, because in all these democratic countries where the selection of judges are taking place, the laymen also participate there. If politicians also, the persons in power, political ministers and all, they are participating. In England, after all, we have borrowed the constitution from the traditions of the England. Therefore, they are all the view taken was a regressive view, I find. But in NJAC case, one mistake was the eminent persons. The provision made for eminent person, they had no security of the tenure. If security of the tenure was given and they are given a constitutional status, eminent persons, I think it was very good legislation, because somebody outside also should look into the affairs of the judiciary. The accountability is lost. That is the most damaging thing. In the independence of judiciary, the courts cannot hold that they need not be accountable and that whatever action is not scrutable. This attitude, I think it has to undergo a change. As far as the basic structure, the independence of judiciary is concerned, what they have laid down, I think some liberal interpretation has to be given, and other participation, public participation in the selection of judges and all that is to be, and accountability of the judges are also should be there. Now everything is an iron curtain. Allegations, very recently you find Justice A.P. Shah, why he was denied the elevation to Supreme Court. Belatedly it was said because he had some property problems, illegal amassing of property and all that. It was not made known immediately. Therefore, accountability should be there. You should not sweep under the carpet the misdeeds or the questionable actions of the judges. And under the independence of judiciary, you can't remain in an iron curtain. And another thing, the court proceedings have to be televised. This is an important feature of independence of judiciary. And this is important for Article 19, freedom of speech. Because freedom of speech imbibes freedom of information. Freedom of information. Therefore, the television, after all, courts are public courts in a democracy. Therefore, they have to be accountable. People should know what happens in court. If television proceedings are televised, the crowding of courts also get minimized.
Yes.
So these are the things. Independence of judiciary has to be in a progressive way, it is to be interpreted, and Supreme Court should move in that direction, what I feel.
So मतलब इसमें एक जो सबसे बड़ी चीज आती है इंडिपेंडेंस। हाँ जस्टिस कौल, आप कुछ कहना चाह रहे हैं?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to only add one more.
Yeah, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
The question was very, your question was very pertinent because आप देखिए कि जो लैंड रिफॉर्म्स का इशू था, अल्टीमेटली इट बॉइल डाउन टू प्रॉपर्टी, और ये टसल बिटवीन पार्लियामेंट एंड to some extent judiciary also has led ultimately to 44th amendment to the constitution, where the property itself was taken out of the chapter of fundamental rights, and article 31 was taken away, and it was made now a constitutional right in article 30A. So therefore after that you can see things have slightly brought some respite from such challenges, because it is now no more a fundamental right, and therefore the question about compensation and other things, those issues have to some extent not remained as important as they were earlier, and it is very easy to make now the law to deal with the property issues. So that has been because of the 44th amendment, because property itself was taken away. That was because ultimately this happened to be an area where there was a lot of difficulty between the judiciary, and Parliament was thinking judiciary was standing in the way of bringing reforms.
Basically, tussle था कि कौन उसको कंट्रोल, कौन उसको कंट्रोल करे,
उसको कंट्रोल करे. That was I think to some extent responsible for it. So it's no more a fundamental right now. Of course, you can bring in other fundamental rights like Article 14, equality before law, equal protection of law. You can't discriminate people in the matter of property. So those issues will come in. But then it led to the devaluation of the right from fundamental right to constitutional right.
बेसिकली एक जिसे कहना चाहिए एक जो राइट था जो कई 25 साल 30 साल तक बना रहा, वो राइट खत्म कर दिया गया. नॉर्मली फंडामेंटल राइट्स बहुत से हैं, यहाँ पे राइट वापस ले दिया गया, एक वापस ले लिया गया. अच्छा जस्टिस राव, मैं आप कुछ कह रहे हैं जस्टिस राव? जी बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
The property, constitutional right of property, the fundamental right, it is linked to so many other rights. Your freedom of movement, or your association, business, profession, freedom of speech, everything was linked. Therefore, that was a bottleneck. Therefore, they conveniently removed it and made only a constitutional right. They say property cannot be divested unless with a proper law. That is what 300 years says.
जी. अच्छा जस्टिस राव, आपने एक बीच में सवाल उठाया इंडिपेंडेंस ऑफ जुडिशरी, और उसमें जो एक जिसे कहना चाहिए पारदर्शिता जिसे कहते हैं, ट्रांसपेरेंसी की एक बात हुई। आजकल जो एक जुडिशरी को लेके एक थोड़ा सा क्रिटिसिज्म जो होता है, जो अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ जजेस, जो एनजेसी की आपने बात उठाई थी, एनजेसी की आपने बात की, तो जो कोलेजियम है, कोलेजियम की जो जिसे कहना चाहिए कि वो आयरन कर्टेन में क्या होता है, कैसे होता है, उसको लेके काफी सवाल उठते रहे हैं लगातार। कोलेजियम को एनजेसी का कोशिश हुई थी, लेकिन उसमें कुछ कमियां थी, कुछ अच्छाइयां थी, कुछ खामियां थी, क्या उसको सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने स्ट्रक डाउन कर दिया। अब कोलेजियम के लिए जो एक बहुत बड़ा क्रिटिसिज्म का मैटर है जुडिशरी के, कि कोलेजियम की जो वर्किंग है वो ट्रांसपेरेंट नहीं है। आप इसको क्या आप मानेंगे कि ट्रांसपेरेंट है या नहीं है, या और ज्यादा इसमें खुला होना चाहिए? क्योंकि बीच में ये भी आ गया था कि कोलेजियम में जो भी डिस्कशंस होंगे वो पब्लिक किए जाएंगे, ये ऐसा कुछ होता नहीं। और कई जजेस के अपॉइंटमेंट को लेके भी सवाल उठते हैं कि आखिर ये कैसे अपॉइंट हो गए जजेस कोलेजियम की वर्किंग पे।
So
मैं एक छोटा सा जवाब चाहूंगा आपसे इस पे।
the collegium system that was itself unconstitutional, that was propounded in second judgment case and third judgment case, was not in the constitution, and the judgment is contrary to the provisions of the constitution. It gave the privilege only to the Chief Justice of India consultation. It was the president, the government, in consultation with the Chief Justice of India, they should appoint, and president could consult any other judges apart from Chief Justice. That was the provision was there. Now the power of Chief Justice is totally diluted, and it has been distributed in the form of a collegium. And whatever happens, see, after all, so the recommendations, very recently I read about 15 names recommended. The Supreme Court said that those lawyers are not qualified and all that. See, we do not know what opinion is taken, what is the material, why it is rejected. It should be the rule of law. After all, the appointment should not be arbitrary. Anything which makes arbitrariness against the rule of law. As far as judicial independence, the view taken by the Supreme Court is concerned, I think it has to undergo a thorough change. And even with regard to right of information, Supreme Court says we are not amenable to Right of Information Act. These are not correct. This is not in the consonance with the democratic principles and the principles of rule of law.
जी जी जी। अच्छा, अब एक हम करीब 35-36 मिनट का डिस्कशन कर चुके हैं, तो अब मैं 2-3 सवाल मेरे पास और है। एक प्रोफेसर कौल, आपसे एक सवाल है। ये बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर की जो थ्योरी प्रोपाउंड की सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने, आम आदमी के लिए इसको आप किस तरीके से देखते हैं?
देखिए, सिरवाई साहब इस केस को आर्ग्यू कर रहे थे। एक साइड से पालकी वाला साहब कर रहे थे, दूसरी तरफ से सिरवाई साहब कर रहे थे
जी, और
उन्होंने काफी क्रिटिसाइज किया इस केस को, इस थ्योरी को क्रिटिसाइज किया काफी। लेकिन लेटर इयर्स में he found that this was something which Supreme Court has done, and it has done a great contribution, and he himself accepted that he was wrong, क्योंकि एक कॉमन मैन के लिए भी जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल वैल्यूज हैं बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन वैल्यूज जो हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में दिए गए हैं, उनको एक ब्रूट मेजॉरिटी ट्रैम्पल नहीं कर सकती। अब जैसे हमारा सेक्युलरिज्म है, egalitarian form of society we want, equality, equal opportunity, fraternity, freedom of expression, liberty। आप एक कॉमन मैन के लिए आप देखिए इतना डेवलपमेंट हो गया है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन वैल्यूज का। फेयर ट्रायल, स्पीडी ट्रायल, आर्टिकल 21 में रीड किया गया। एक्सेस टू जस्टिस एज अ फंडामेंटल राइट। और डेमोक्रेटिक, अब आप देखिए, यू नीड गुड पीपल टू रन दिस कंट्री। एक सेशन ने इलेक्शन कमीशन को कितना ट्रांसफॉर्म किया, और तब उसके बाद आप देखिए इलेक्शन कमीशन का स्ट्रक्चर कितना बढ़ गया। सो इट इज द पीपल हु मैन द सिस्टम, हु गिव द डायरेक्शन, हु गिव द लीडरशिप। Our
जी।
constitutional values, basic structure is in order. We need good leadership, good people in judiciary, good people in executive, good people in parliament, so that
Yes.
the dream that Gandhiji dreamt for the common man, and that dream, for realizing that dream, I think we need these basic values in the constitution if we have to have rule of law, democratic system, a functioning of the government, accountability, democratization of the institutions. Justice Rao was talking about. देखिए हमारा जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की फंडामेंटल ड्यूटी है, one of the fundamental duties is to develop scientific temperament,
जी।
humanism and spirit of inquiry and reform. Now, if we are saying Supreme Court, you must listen. People have a right to say, and you must be amenable to improvement in the system. People are right in saying this because we want openness. We don't want opaqueness. Justice Rao has remained in the system. He knows system better than I know it. He has been also the acting Chief Justice. He must have made many recommendations also. And, he has been there for long years. If he says that our systems need to improve, our freedom of expression should not allow a Damocles sword to hang on our head of contempt.
Yes.
We must be heard, we must listen to each other, because we all are interested in better judiciary,
Betterment. Yes.
better system of governance, whether it is judiciary, whether it is parliament, or whether it is executive. After all, what is
Yes.
important is we, the people of India, must feel that justice, socio-economic, political is meted out to us, and we are the beneficiaries of this, what we call as non-violent revolution that took place when we gained our independence, and we pledged to give a society committed to the concept of socio-economic political justice, where there is equality before law, equal opportunity of law, and there is fraternity. What binds me from Kashmir to Kanyakumari is the basic values that we share, the basic zeal, and our closeness is because of our constitution. These values bind us, and these values should keep on binding us, and we must become better people, better administrators, better legislators, better judges, and better functionaries in the system. That is, I think, that what Indian society wants today.
जी जी। अच्छा जस्टिस राव, अब आपसे एक सवाल कि जिस समय कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बना, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन असेंबली में जितने भी मेंबर्स थे वो तमाम हिंदुस्तान की जो पूरी सोसाइटी थी, अलग अलग तरीके के लोग उसमें शामिल थे। उन्होंने एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन दिया, लंबे समय तक डिस्कशन करके, चीजें तय करके, बहस करके, और उसके बाद एक हमें संविधान मिला। संविधान में सुप्रीम कोर्ट मिला, जिसकी इंडिपेंडेंस की बात उस समय भी थी और अब भी है। लेकिन क्या आपको ये नहीं लगता कि जो धीरे धीरे पूरा सिस्टम पिछले 70 साल में आया, तो कहीं ना कहीं न्यायपालिका की स्थिति कुछ जजमेंट्स को अगर छोड़ दें, या ऐसे काफी जजमेंट्स हैं जिसमें कहीं ना कहीं वो, लेकिन अब आपको क्या लगता है कि हम उसी न्यायपालिका में की बात कर रहे हैं जो हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बनाने वालों ने सोची थी, या उसमें कहीं कुछ डिजेनरेशन हुआ?
If you look at the functioning, although the Supreme Court held that speedy trial is one of the fundamental rights built to Article 21. But are we granting speedy trials? Even at Supreme Court level, what is happening? Thousands of cases are pending. It's only in the name of high-file cases have taken up. Common man is totally neglected. The general perception of the people is that there are three types of litigants: politicians and their associates. Next is moneyed people. Third is common. Politicians somehow, today he files a case, even at midnight hearing is made. And moneyed man, he can influence, because there are a lot of rumors of even Justice Bharucha, Chief Justice, and previous Chief Justice Venkatramaya openly admitted that there is some amount of corruption. As far as common man, he is totally neglected, and Supreme Court is inaccessible to a common man. If you want to, common man to challenge any, take up his case before Supreme Court, he has to spend minimum in the first hearing itself. He has to spend about 10 lakhs, 5 to 10 lakhs. This is the situation. Justice is not accessible. It's only in the paper. It's only on the paper. We must really transform the judiciary, make it accessible to the people. This is what I feel, and I think in the course of time, things will evolve. And after all, time is the best healer. So things will evolve, and our courts should become people-friendly courts. Even at trial levels, you find so many cases pending. See, in high courts, criminal cases are pending for 20 years. They get abated. The accused who have gone in appeal, they die and case get abated. There is no adjudication at all. Speedy adjudication is required. Even at that, I think trial courts are much better, I feel. High courts and Supreme Court miserably failed in giving speedy justice.
अच्छा, एक आखिरी सवाल है दोनों लोगों से, हमारे दोनों मेहमानों से। इसी सवाल का थोड़ा सा एक्सटेंशन है जो मैंने अभी जस्टिस राव आपसे पूछा, मैं आपसे ही पहले पूछूंगा कि जो आपने स्पीडी ट्रायल और स्पीडी क्या कहते हैं फैसलों की बात कही, जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट का पिछले कुछ समय से रवैया रहा है, उसको देख के आप क्या कहेंगे? उनके केसेस को हैंडल करने को लेके, उनके जो क्या कहते हैं फैसले रहे उनको लेके।
Should I answer?
Yes, जी।
See, one mistake is Article 136 is very liberally interpreted. They should not entertain cases. That is the reason the Supreme Court is flooded with. Justice Krishna also bemoaned once with regard to the pendency. Now that pendency, considering at the time of V.R. Krishna here, Justice V.R. Krishna here and present, it is doubled. Therefore, 136, although the petitions are dismissed, they are also 136 without any reason. They simply say dismiss. People should know what. See, after all, when they challenge the order of an high court, they would have given some reasons as why high court is wrong. The Supreme Court should say that the reason is right or wrong. They should give contribute. Now the decision of the Supreme Court is that when we accept the opinion of the views of the high court, we need not give reasons. This is also not correct. They should give reason. Any case which is rejected should have some explanation, some reason for rejecting the case. See, 136 liberally exercising jurisdiction is one of the reasons.
ओके प्रोफेसर कौल, आप क्या कहेंगे जो पिछला अगर कुछ समय से देखा जाए रुख सुप्रीम कोर्ट के, किन केसेस को पहले टेकअप किया जाए, बाद में टेकअप किया जाए, किन केसेस क्या फैसलों को लेके जो विवाद भी हुए, आप क्या कहेंगे?
मैंने सुप्रीम कोर्ट को बहुत क्लोजली एग्जामिन किया है। आपके साथ पहले भी एक मेरी चर्चा रही है। I divide Supreme Court into pre-liberalization and post-liberalization.
Okay.
We had a very, very active Supreme Court when we talked about pre-liberalization. Post-liberalization, I find Supreme Court becoming a conservative Supreme Court. But that does not mean that, it is rendering very good judgments. But the question is, the sufferings of the people have to be taken very seriously.
Okay.
And I think I have a very strong opinion that COVID-19 has brought in now two streams. One will be virtual, second will be physical. Virtual stream is going to stay, and people from Kerala can now argue matters in Supreme Court and High Courts.
Yes.
And that will, to a greater extent, help us in redressal of the grievances expeditiously. But there'll be also a stream of physical courts where you need to have trials, you need to examine witnesses, where you need to go into the constitutionality of a matter, and you may hear longer arguments. So I think both systems need to be, platforms need to be created, more efficient platforms need to be created so that there is actual and true access to justice. And people can sit in their rooms in Kerala and address the Supreme Court in Delhi. I think this is a phenomena which should take place, which should happen, but it should happen with a very good platform. We should get ready for this kind of a thing, and we should, of course, other avenues available as alternate dispute resolution mechanisms. We should take help of those also. But I think judiciary will have to, become more active and more what we call as empathetic towards the common and poor people of this country. That is my appeal to the judiciary. Of course, they are benevolent, they are justice dispensers, but I think common man has more hopes and more expectations that their cases will be heard on priority basis, because they cannot wait for the justice for long years, because it is very, very difficult for a common man to face this tiring wait for getting justice from the courts. Thank you very much.
Okay. आप जस्टिस प्रोफेसर पॉल आपका और जस्टिस श्रीधर राव आपका द लीगल प्लेटफॉर्म से बात करने के लिए आप दोनों लोगों का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। हम जल्दी ही एक नई शख्सियत के साथ एक नए मुद्दे पे आपके सामने फिर हाजिर होंगे। तब तक के लिए नमस्कार।
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Justice Rao. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Nice to be with you on the platform. Nice to be with you.